Thanks, Sylvia, first for organizing this event. And it is the initiatives that need to be had to get this issue dealt with. So the issue of domestic violence, unlike any other crime, it involves people who know and care between the victim and the suspect. Yes? And that's why it becomes extremely complex. So if someone robs you down the street, you're happy to go to the station, they find the guy, you're happy to testify and have him jailed. When that person is the person you fell in love with, got married and had kids with, then it changes. And so from a policing point of view, before I go into that, I think people need to understand this is a psychological issue. And therefore, that's why it's deep-rooted, and that's why it is not something that you're going to be able to fix so easily, and people burn out trying to fix it because you're dealing with people. And from psychological issues, it becomes behavioral. And we basically, people who belt of perpetrators of domestic violence are people who have bad habits. So people who don't belt their partner are people with good habits. So we are nothing but creatures of habit. So when we say repeating, cycle, they're just habits because we're creatures of habit and we repeat ourselves. And so if you go to work every day, on time, every time, turn left every time to work, we just say it's instinct, that's habit, so we developed over time. Those are in the space of domestic violence, violence against women, they're habits that they developed over time, and some get to the point where they develop the habit to an extreme. Others are starting their habits from verbal abuse, then it moves from verbal abuse into physical, initially first time, second time, third time, and then it goes to a point where you get extreme cases where it leads to death, as in Jendlin's case. So belting up someone that's a perpetrator, yes, immediately will stop, pain threshold, but he wants sustainment. And so unless we have positive reinforcements, role models, discussions of changing those habits, then you'll find a solution long term. So we're in a country and a community now where we have a lot of people that have developed a lot of bad habits over years. So in terms of policing or crime, you've got to take away the opportunity. And the way to take away the opportunity is one, expose it. So awareness, talking about these issues, exposing people, putting it in the media is the first step. The second step is accountability. So if we don't have accountability, then basically, and you just got awareness, eventually pain threshold is enough because accountability is the pain threshold. So we have 7,300 officers, that is to 1 is to 1,200, when the recommended United Nations 1 is to 222. And again, that 7,000 to 200 is not people on the street doing public safety. That's people in CID that don't get on the street. That's people in traffic that don't get on the street. That's people in prosecution that don't get on the street. That's people in the executive that don't go on the street. So if you want to narrow it down to how many actual people are doing public safety policing, that's even 1 is to 2,000 or 3,000. And then most of the FSBU that I've met with, I had the pleasure of meeting with, majority, I think, 90% are women. So you can see the challenge they're facing, trying to arrest perpetrators who are men. And the other thing is they need assistance from regular police who are also perpetrators themselves, so have no interest in helping another officer arrest another officer, another person for something they know they're also guilty of. Yeah. So they're the challenges that they face in police. They're extensive. The good thing now is police are undergoing a major reform like never before. So in the next year, we will see significant improvements. We're seeing improvements now. Most of those aren't visible to the public. But going forward between now and next year, we will start to move extensively, aggressively in FSBU, because we had a discussion with FSBU, and normally they sit on the bottom, and they've now, under my ministry, a discussion with the commissioner, we're going to put it equal priority as all other sectors in policing. So accountability is one means of stopping gender-based violence by applying a pain threshold of accountability in the law. We need to, for community and society still needs to stop this crime from being committed so it doesn't end up in a police station. So police don't just deal with gender-based violence, they deal with every single crime. And gender-based violence just happens to be one. What needs to be done? Certain people have certain skills. Awareness on media needs to keep this as a frontline issue. So newspapers need to put 3 stories a day on gender-based violence. Yes? Radios need to cover a story every time they do the news, run a gender-based violence. But you also risk being desensitizing the issue. So like now COVID-19, is one of the most dangerous pandemics in this globe's history, and people are tired of hearing about COVID-19. Yes? There's so much awareness on the go, we're tired of it. Yeah, until you get sick or you're a victim of gender-based violence, same thing. Until you're a victim or affected, all of a sudden now you care about it. Yeah? So awareness is important, accountability is important. The judiciary system, which the government of today under the Marape-Stephen government is focused on fixing. There is no quick solution, but I can tell you that we are covering ground, and unlike any other government, and we're dealing with a mess that we didn't create, but we are left to fix. Violence, it's instinctive. Someone says something, bang. Woman says something, because the man, it's instinctive of how he is going to react. And to condition that person out is going to take a lot of time and resources. So we need counseling, because people need to understand what is the good from basically bad behavior to good behavior, what are the pain and pleasure thresholds. So counseling allows people to address the psychological issues. Putting someone in jail is not going to solve the problem, because if we put a perpetrator who just started to belt his wife into a criminal system where he will end up in Bomana and be mentored and trained by the worst criminals in our country. So he goes from just gender-based violence to becoming mentored by criminals who say it's okay to rape, it's okay to kill, it's okay to torture. And he comes out, and that's exactly what he's going to do, because now he's just been indoctrinated in a criminal system. So throwing all the perpetrators in jail is not going to fix the problem either. So we need to, one option is to classify cases, better classify cases of gender-based violence. There's no point smashing one guy who just started this bad behavior, where basically he can be reformed quickly, versus someone who's a point, in Jenlin's case, to the extreme point where there was a basis of already torture. And so it was already going to happen. And had police been able to identify, and I think they did in this case, I mean, not to the case before the court, and she insisted to basically withdraw the charges, and other people were putting pressure on her. So even her peers were putting pressure on her to withdraw the charge. And then there's other case, similar case, where one perpetrator who's killed his partner, accused of killing his partner, got bail, and then other perpetrators said, oh, well, if he can get bail, while he's already been in court on killing his partner, then we can get bail too. So they're bad examples where we need to go in and correct, because bad perpetrators can rely on those bad precedents. So some of them might need upskilling. Some of them might need help in writing statements. Some of them might need counselors to come and speak to a victim. And so how does that counselor get to the station? In a lot of cases, they need medical certificates before they can arrest. And so now it's a look at us, well, that's crazy. If a woman is sitting in front of you bleeding, so clearly evidence is clear that she's a victim of violence. You don't need to send her to tell her to catch the bus to go down to the medical clinic to spend 100 kina that she doesn't have on a medical certificate that they take 1 week to do. Yeah? So there are issues within the judiciary and the police that we are going to sort out. So there's reasonable cause, someone's assaulted, the protocols are now changed. Don't go and ask her to get a certificate, take a photo, that's evidence to make an arrest. You can get the medical certificate later. And so we've now identified some of those issues. My office working with Sergeant Job on the issues of vehicles as well. But again, you can get an officer vehicle, next minute you'll be on Facebook because someone rolled it over and smashed it because they were drink driving. And that officer was supposed to be the lead officer, role model officer on the Station of Excellence. Given a car that was funded by AFP, donated, and he goes and rolls a vehicle. And so the question, where does it stop? So role models coming forward like Trish and Preston and Bonner, they're the key. So the 1% are the worst, the 1% are the best. And in the middle is the population that we need to shift. And in the absence of the 1% that are extremely good, the 1% will rule. And so the reality is you can't get everyone to be the best. There's only about 1%, 2%. It's to get the 1% up and get working to move the mass. And then the mass will focus on doing the right thing, build good behaviors, become role models, and set the next generation to adopt good behavior and be good citizens. And so again, it's a massive issue, but we can sit down and have the best way forward is workshops to find the best strategy on an action and activity plan to start getting things. And if we achieve things, then people get motivated. You achieve another thing, you get motivated. If you're not achieving anything, then people are no longer motivated.